A newly married couple steps into an elevator expecting the happiest trip of their lives. Instead, they enter a nightmare that will leave bodies behind, expose a deadly secret, and destroy everything they thought they knew about each other. At first, the stranger standing beside them looks completely normal. But within the next 48 hours, they'll discover a terrifying truth. He didn't get trapped in the elevator with them. They got trapped in the elevator with him. The movie begins with Victor, a man who once had everything. He had a loving wife, a young son, and a peaceful life. But tragedy ripped his family apart, leaving him emotionally broken. Meanwhile, Anton and Marina are preparing for what should be the happiest day of their lives. Their wedding. The entire ceremony is being paid for by Marina's wealthy father. The couple plans to record every moment, from the wedding to their honeymoon, and later turn it into a short film to share with friends at their yacht club. Everything seems perfect. Well, almost everything. As they arrive at the registry office, they take an elevator upstairs. For a brief second, the elevator suddenly loses power. The lights go out. Everything freezes. Then, just as quickly, it starts moving again. Most people would ignore something like that, but Marina can't. She has a severe fear of elevators. The brief malfunction instantly puts her on edge. Anton laughs it off and distracts her with jokes and his camera, convincing her that everything is fine. Unfortunately, it isn't. Not even close. The couple barely makes it to the ceremony on time. The registrar initially refuses to marry them because they're late, but Marina gives an emotional speech about love and second chances. The woman eventually agrees. Moments later, Anton and Marina exchange vows, put rings on each other's fingers, and officially become husband and wife. Everything feels like a fairy tale. But fairy tales don't last long in this movie. After taking photos and recording footage around the city, the newlyweds stop by Marina's father's office. He hands them an envelope filled with money for their honeymoon. With smiles on their faces and an exciting future ahead, they head toward the airport. And that's when everything starts to go wrong. The couple enters another elevator. This time, a middle-aged man named Victor joins them. At first, nobody pays much attention to him. Anton and Marina are too busy enjoying their wedding day. But only seconds after the elevator begins descending, it suddenly stops. Completely. Anton immediately presses several buttons. Nothing happens. Victor tries as well. Still nothing. The elevator is dead. Marina's breathing becomes faster. Her fear instantly returns. Anton and Victor attempt to calm her down, assuring her that someone will notice eventually. Victor presses the emergency alarm. No response. They check their phones. No signal. Not a single bar. Now they're completely isolated. A metal box. No communication. No way out. All they can do is wait. An hour passes. Then another. Eventually, Anton decides to keep recording. At first, Marina gets annoyed, but Anton explains that a man once documented his experience after being trapped in an elevator for nearly 2 days and later sued the company for a huge payout. Victor likes the idea. Soon, all three begin recording messages. What starts as boredom slowly turns into conversation. They discuss relationships, work, dreams, failures. The mood almost feels friendly. Almost. Victor reveals that he spent his life working in construction. Because of that, he knows a lot about elevators. He explains that elevators almost never freefall because multiple safety systems prevent it. But if one ever does fall, the best chance of survival is to lie flat on the floor. The conversation is meant to be comforting. Instead, it terrifies Marina even more. Desperate to escape, she starts pulling at the elevator doors. Anton and Victor help her. After a long struggle, they finally manage to force the doors open. For a moment, hope appears. Then it disappears. Behind the doors isn't freedom. It's a concrete wall. The elevator is stuck between floors. They're still trapped. As night falls, reality begins to sink in. Nobody is coming. At least not anytime soon. And if it's already Friday evening, there's a chance they could remain trapped for the entire weekend. The thought crushes Marina. She breaks down in tears. Outside, rain begins pounding against the building. Inside, the atmosphere becomes increasingly uncomfortable. Victor starts telling stories about his life. He talks about his wedding, his wife, his family. At first, he seems like a lonely man carrying old wounds. But as the hours pass, something feels strange. His mood constantly changes. One moment he's friendly, the next he's aggressive. He mocks Anton's career as a musician. He questions whether the marriage will survive. He warns them never to have children. His comments become increasingly disturbing. Then everything changes. Victor suddenly begins talking about his wife. His voice cracks. His eyes fill with tears. He reveals that she is gone. Then he reveals something even worse. His son is gone too. The pain completely consumes him. The atmosphere inside the elevator becomes suffocating. Anton and Marina feel sympathy for him, but they don't realize something terrifying. Victor isn't sharing his story because he needs comfort. He's preparing them for what's coming next. And when the truth is finally revealed, their nightmare truly begins. As the night drags on, the atmosphere inside the elevator becomes unbearable. Victor's emotions seem completely unstable. One minute he's sharing memories about his family. The next he's talking about violence, revenge, and the people who ruined his life. Anton and Marina exchange nervous glances. Something feels very wrong, but they still have no idea how dangerous Victor really is. Trying to distract themselves, the couple once again presses the elevator buttons. Nothing. No movement. No rescue. No hope. Marina desperately checks her phone again, even though she already knows there is no signal. Victor watches her carefully. Then, with a strange smile, he says something that makes everyone freeze. "Stop trying. It won't help." The way he says it sends a chill through the elevator. Before either Anton or Marina can respond, Victor slowly reaches into his pocket and pulls out his phone. At first, it doesn't seem important. Then he taps the screen. Suddenly, the elevator starts moving, for the first time in hours. Everyone stares in shock. The elevator moves for only a few seconds before stopping again. Silence fills the cabin. Anton's face goes pale. Marina looks completely terrified, because they finally understand the horrifying truth. The elevator wasn't broken. Victor was controlling it the entire time. He had trapped them here on purpose. The friendly stranger disappears, and the monster finally reveals himself. Victor begins recording them with his phone. He talks calmly, almost casually, as if everything happening is perfectly normal. Then he reveals something even more disturbing. He knows who Anton is. He knows who Marina is. He knows where they live. He knows where they've been. And he's been searching for them for years. The couple's confusion turns into fear. Marina immediately offers him the envelope of money from her father. Thousands of dollars. She begs him to take it and let them leave. Victor barely looks at it. Then he laughs. Money isn't what he wants. Not even close. Slowly, he pulls out a knife. The atmosphere instantly changes. Anton positions himself between Victor and Marina. The elevator suddenly feels much smaller. Much more dangerous. Victor points the knife toward Anton. Then he finally reveals why they're here. 2 years ago, his young son was killed in a hit-and-run accident. The driver never stopped, never called for help, never faced punishment. Victor spent years searching for answers, searching for justice, searching for revenge. And now he believes he has finally found the people responsible. Anton immediately denies everything. Marina denies it too. Both insist they've never harmed anyone. But Victor refuses to listen. In his mind, the case is already solved, the trial is already over, and the sentence has already been decided. The couple desperately promises to help him find the real killer. For a brief moment, it almost works. Victor seems uncertain. He even lowers the knife. Hope appears, then disappears just as quickly. Victor suddenly attacks. The elevator explodes into chaos. Anton rushes forward. Victor easily overpowers him. Years of grief and rage have transformed him into a terrifying opponent. One punch sends Anton crashing into the wall. Marina screams and jumps in to help. Victor throws her aside like she weighs nothing. Her head slams into the glass wall. Everything becomes a blur of violence. Punches, screams, blood, fear. Anton keeps fighting even though he's clearly outmatched. Every time he gets up, Victor knocks him back down. But Anton refuses to quit, because he knows exactly what Victor wants. And he knows Marina will be next. Victor pins Anton against the wall and demands answers. He asks about a specific night, a specific car, a specific license plate. The details are far too precise to ignore. This isn't random. Victor has spent years investigating, years obsessing, years hunting. Marina's confidence begins to crack. Victor notices immediately. He grabs her by the hair and forces her to look directly at him. Then he describes the night his son died. The pain in his voice is impossible to ignore. He remembers hearing the impact. He remembers find his son broken and bleeding on the road. He remembers desperately trying to save him. And most of all, he remembers watching the car drive away, leaving his child behind. The story hits Anton and Marina hard. For a brief moment, Victor almost seems sympathetic again, a grieving father destroyed by loss. But then the rage returns. Victor slashes Marina's wrist with the knife. She screams in agony. Blood begins pouring onto the floor. Anton loses control. Without thinking, he blurts out the first thing that comes to mind. "It was me!" The words echo through the elevator. Victor freezes. Marina looks shocked. Even Anton realizes he may have made a terrible mistake. But he continues. He claims responsibility. He says he was driving. He says he's the one Victor wants. The lie buys them a few seconds. Nothing more. Victor eventually sees through it. His anger explodes. Another brutal fight begins. This time it's even worse. Anton is beaten so badly he can barely stand. Marina tries to protect him. Victor attacks her too. The elevator turns into a battlefield. Every corner is stained with blood. Every breath feels heavier than the last. Then, in a desperate moment, Marina notices something. Her high heel. As Victor begins choking Anton to death, Marina grabs the shoe and lunges forward. The sharp heel drives directly into Victor's head. Everything stops. Victor's eyes widen. His grip loosens. For a second, nobody moves. Then Victor collapses. Dead. The elevator becomes completely silent. Marina stares at the body in horror. She never meant to kill anyone. She was only trying to save her husband. Anton slowly pulls her into his arms. Both are shaking. Both are traumatized. And neither of them realizes. Their nightmare is far from over. Because Victor wasn't working alone. Someone else has been watching them the entire time. And outside the elevator, a new game is about to begin. Victor is dead. The knife is gone. The fighting has stopped. But Anton and Marina aren't celebrating. They're trapped inside a metal box with a corpse. No way out. And no idea if anyone even knows they're alive. For several minutes, neither of them speaks. They're exhausted, covered in blood, and completely broken. Eventually, Anton notices something strange. Victor's phone is making a noise. The screen flashes repeatedly. When he picks it up, he discovers something terrifying. The entire ordeal has been recorded. Every threat, every attack, every second of Victor's madness. For a moment, this feels like good news. It's proof they acted in self-defense. Proof they didn't murder him. But before they can celebrate, the phone slips from their hands and crashes into a pool of blood. The screen shatters instantly. Their only evidence is gone. And things are about to get much worse. As Anton and Marina argue about what to do next, they suddenly hear footsteps somewhere above them. Then silence. Then another strange noise. Before they can react, a burning gas begins pouring into the elevator through the ventilation system. Anton reaches toward the vent and immediately jerks his hand back. The gas is painfully hot. Someone is pumping it directly into the elevator. Someone who wants them dead. Panic returns. Victor may be gone, but whoever helped him is still out there. Working quickly, Anton climbs onto Marina's shoulders and stuffs clothing into the ventilation opening. At first, it doesn't work. The gas keeps pouring in. Desperate, they use socks, underwear, and every piece of spare fabric they can find. Finally, the airflow stops. The gas is blocked. For now. But the message is clear. This nightmare isn't over. Someone is watching them, waiting, playing with them, playing with them. Morning arrives. The couple barely slept. Their bodies ache from the previous night's violence. Then suddenly, the elevator intercom comes to life. A song begins playing. At first, they think help has finally arrived. They rush toward the speaker. But instead of rescue, they're greeted by an ear-piercing screech. The sound nearly destroys their hearing. Then the music starts again. Over and over and over. Hours pass. The same song repeats endlessly. The person outside isn't trying to save them. They're torturing them, psychologically, emotionally, slowly breaking them down. Anton eventually realizes something. Victor mentioned having a hacker friend. Someone capable of controlling the elevator. Someone capable of monitoring cameras. Someone capable of turning their prison into a death trap. That person must still be watching, and the only way out might be to tell them exactly what they want to hear. Anton turns toward the camera. His voice shakes. Then he confesses. He claims responsibility for Victor's son's death. He apologizes. He begs for forgiveness. The elevator immediately begins moving. For the first time, it seems like the confession worked. Marina starts crying with relief. Anton smiles. They think it's finally over. Then everything changes. Without warning, the elevator suddenly drops. Fast. Very fast. The floor disappears beneath them. The walls shake violently. Marina screams. Anton remembers Victor's advice. Lie flat on the floor. Immediately. The couple throws themselves down just seconds before the elevator accelerates even further. It feels like they're falling forever. Every second feels like an hour. Then, boom! The elevator slams to a stop. Silence. Neither of them moves. Slowly, they realize something unbelievable. They're alive. Barely. Marina loses a tooth during the impact. Both are bruised and battered. But they're alive. Unfortunately, survival only leads to another nightmare. The elevator remains sealed shut. They're still prisoners. Meanwhile, the mysterious watcher continues observing them through hidden cameras. Anton finally fights back. Using chewing gum and a credit card, he manages to block the camera lens. For the first time since this nightmare began, their tormentor loses sight of them. Then Anton dismantles the control panel. Sparks fly. The lights flicker. For a brief moment, they gain some control. But the person outside notices and decides to escalate things. Again. Just as Anton and Marina begin comforting each other and discussing what they'll do if they survive, the elevator doors suddenly slide open. Hope returns. Only for a second. A powerful hose blasts through the opening. Water explodes into the elevator. Within minutes, the cabin begins filling. The hacker isn't trying to trap them anymore. He's trying to drown them. The water rises higher and higher. Ankles, knees, waist, chest. Soon they're forced to swim. Anton desperately tries pulling the hose away. It's impossible. The pressure is too strong. Then the water reaches the electrical panel. A violent short circuit erupts. Electricity sparks through the flooding elevator. Now they're facing two deaths at once: drowning or electrocution. As the water continues rising, their chances of survival disappear. The air pocket above them becomes smaller, 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 until they can barely breathe. Marina starts crying. Anton refuses to give up. Diving underwater, he retrieves Victor's knife. Then he begins stabbing at the glass wall, again and again and again. The glass refuses to break. His lungs burn. His vision blurs. Still, he keeps going. Finally, crack! A fracture appears, then another. Then the entire glass panel shatters. Water explodes outward. The elevator rapidly drains. Both Anton and Marina collapse onto the floor, gasping for air. They survived again, but emotionally, they're falling apart. And that's when Marina finally reveals the truth. The truth she's been hiding from everyone. Even her husband. 2 years ago, she was drunk. Anton had already passed out. Instead of calling for help, she decided to drive. Then came the accident. The impact. The child. Victor's son. She got out of the car. She saw what happened. She heard Victor screaming. And then, she ran. For 2 years, she carried the guilt alone. For 2 years, she lied. To the police. To Anton. To herself. Anton is devastated. Everything suddenly makes sense. Victor wasn't crazy. He was right. Marina really was responsible. The woman he loved had been hiding the truth all along. For a moment, it feels like their relationship is over. But then Marina finally accepts responsibility. No more lies. No more excuses. She promises to confess everything if they survive. And despite his heartbreak, Anton chooses forgiveness. Because after everything they've endured together, he still loves her. The emotional moment doesn't last long. Suddenly, the elevator begins moving again. This time it reaches the lobby. Freedom is finally within reach. Anton grabs the knife and cautiously steps outside. The lobby appears empty. Too empty. Then a figure attacks from the darkness. Anton is knocked unconscious. Marina screams. The attacker drags her away. When she wakes up, she's tied to a chair. Terrified, helpless, and face to face with the final person behind the nightmare. Victor's wife. The mysterious hacker. The grieving mother. Everything suddenly makes sense. After losing her son, she joined Victor's quest for revenge. She watched every second of their suffering. She controlled every trap, every drop of water, every burst of gas, every terrifying moment. But even revenge couldn't bring her son back. Tears fill her eyes as she confronts Marina. Then she slashes Marina's face and flees before police arrive. Moments later, sirens echo throughout the building. The nightmare is finally over. Anton wakes up, unties Marina, and together they watch as police surround the lobby. For the first time in days, they're safe. But safety doesn't erase guilt. When the investigation begins, Anton makes a decision nobody expects. He takes responsibility for the hit and run. He sacrifices himself to protect Marina and their future child. As a result, he's sentenced to prison. Years pass. Finally, the prison gates open. Anton steps outside, and waiting just beyond the gates is Marina, holding a child in her arms.